Go.
We are here with another episode of Banditland Boulevard. Myself, Trevor Hauer, hosting. Across from me, Tony LaMonica, aka Boxhead 98 TL. We got another Bandit player, this time a Bandit alumni, Delby Powless. Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
So I think we are a Bandit show, so we have to start off. Your experience with the Bandits, you got drafted in 04, and you do have a crazy little story behind that draft, right? The NLL was going through a bit of a lockout at that point. How was that?
That's true.
How was it getting drafted first overall, though, even though you didn't really get the best experience with that?
Yeah, it wasn't the same as what everybody gets now. They get they get their parents get to go to the whole conference. Everybody get to go on stage, get the jersey, meet the management and the coaches, everything like that. So the way they did our draft was it was all done online with just the management and coaches. And basically I just got a phone call telling me that I got drafted, and then saw it on the ticker on like TSN like a little bit later. So it was kind of it was a different experience than what kids get now. So unfortunately I didn't get that whole experience that they get now, but it would have been nice. But it just got the phone call from Darius, and I think it was Bryce and Kurt Silcott at the time. So then I just called my parents, let them know, and it was kind of that was it. It wasn't much of a. It was kind of a weird experience, but I guess it's kind of unique considering that they were going through a strike. So not much you can do when they're going through that type of a strike. So it was a different experience than what they get now. So I do kind of envy the kids who get to do all that stuff now, which is pretty cool, right? Especially more for the parents than anything, right? My mom and dad.
Of course.
I really love to be there, but unfortunately it just didn't work out that way.
Absolutely.
Well, either way, how you look at it too, Delby, is that the fact that you get to play for the Buffalo Bandits, obviously going through Six Nations, and with all your careers going from juniors to seniors and then getting the ticket to come to Buffalo. I have to at least say one thing is, like, what would be in your career with the Buffalo Bandits, what would be your most memorable goal that you have scored?
It's a good question.
My most memorable goal. Wow. I'm trying to even think. I don't even know. Maybe the first one, to be honest. Just getting your first goal in the NLL, right?
Was it in Buffalo? Did you score your first goal in Banditland?
No, it was actually in Minnesota.
Oh,
I do have the video of it. Like, I do get to see it every once in a while, but it was actually in Minnesota, and I think I actually got 3 of that game, so it was actually pretty cool.
Nice.
But it was my first one. It was just cut through the middle. I think just a catch and shoot, just quick stick kind of a thing. And
sure,
right away, Dan Teat went and grabbed the ball, and so it was a good experience to finally get that first one that you've been dreaming about since you're a little kid, right? To get your first goal in the NLL. So it was really cool.
That's great.
Yeah, and I have one goal that I actually did look up, and it was a game-tying one in one of the Eastern playoff one of the Eastern playoff games against Philadelphia when you tied it at 10 in 2008. That had to be one of your most spectacular goals to watch.
Quarterfinal game,
I think that was. It's unreal how fast that ball comes out of your stick and just scores like in a dime. It's unbelievable how practice makes perfect, how you dedicate yourself to a sport that you guys obviously grown up with. And that would have to be my most memorable goal that you have scored for this for the history of the Buffalo Bandits.
Yeah, well, for me, that was one of my things as a kid. I was never big, never fast, right? One of the things I had to do was just be kind of crafty and quick, especially with my stick. So I used to practice quick sticks like crazy a lot as a kid. That was one of my things I did. And I grew up with some really good left-handed players. So the kind of the cross crease stuff really worked a lot. In junior, I played with Kim Squire, who was like a magician when we were kids. So he could find me, and I was just more of a finisher when I was younger. So that's kind of something that I just kind of grew up with. And then playing in Buffalo, obviously with a guy like JT, right? You just keep your stick ready at all times. Yep. You never know what's going to come. So that was kind of one of the things I used to do as a kid. So scoring that goal against Philly, that's one of the ones where it just kind of something that just came natural to me as a kid, just, catch and shoot quick. And I grew up with a guy who played in the Bandits, Ken Mentor.
Yeah.
Goalie of the year, right? He's my cousin. He's my first cousin. So he used to tell me all the time that the hardest shot
Lucky.
to stop it, not ready for. So if you can't see it, just hurry up and shoot it. Just hit the net when before you can see it, right? So that's one of the things that I used to do as a kid all the time, and growing up, I just carried it on as into adulthood, is just shooting quick before a goalie's ready for it. So that was that goal with Philly. That's basically all that was.
Yep, so good. I've even watched highlights of the Eastern Division game against, I think it was the East Finals at the time.
Yep.
Buffalo and New York were going at
Yep.
it at the HSBC, is what it was called back then. But you guys were running, I don't even know if it was a power play, but it was you, Stainhouse, Dosty, and Tavares out there. And I'm like, nobody is freaking stopping that. Like, I think Stainhouse maybe scored 8 goals in that game. You got a bunch of assists. And the fact that was Matt Vince in net that night, who was our current goaltender, you found your way, had your way with him. I'm like, what was the connection on that line? I mean, you were kind of all over the place on different lines and stuff like that, but how was it playing with guys like Stainhouse and Tavares and maybe some underrated guys like Dosty and Akersi?
That is one of the things. It's just more like kind of the offense that Buffalo built, right? In that time frame was more of a pick your poison type of an offense, right? So if you left, if you double team Stainhouse and Tavares, and you got guys like Corey Bombery or Roger Weiss, you can really fire the ball too, right? So it was kind of more of a pick your poison type thing. So I think defenses were obviously keying on Mark and JT, so it kind of opened up a lot of room for the rest of us just to sometimes just finding lanes or find shooting alleys, and just being able to put the ball in the net if you get a shot is basically what it was, right? So we didn't really have a lot of plays, especially on that power play. We kind of freelanced a lot where we just moved the ball around and cut, and eventually somebody was going to get a good shot because we all moved the ball quick. So eventually somebody just got a good shot, and sometimes they were falling, and that night against New York they were just falling pretty good.
It was a very finesse type of offense, I think, there as Kilgore ran. It was very finesse, very fast paced. It didn't look like it was something drawn up. It was like find the open guy and pass it quickly and pass it accurately, and you'll find the back of the net.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I grew up playing on Six Nations. It was more like we'd call it backyard lacrosse, right? Where it's just everybody just moves the ball, everybody cuts. Everybody can pass and catch, so you don't have to worry about somebody not being able to catch them. Just put it in their stick and let them catch and finish. And that's kind of the way that we grew up playing on the res. Is just kind of what we would call backyard lacrosse. Is everybody just moved their feet and move the ball quick, and it's tough for defenses to stop, right? If when the ball's stagnant, defenses can key on where the ball is. If it's moving all the time, the defense has got to move their head, goalie's got to move their feet. So it's tougher to stop, I think, when the ball moves, and I think that's something that sometimes goes underrated. I think, is just moving the ball. Some people like to go one-on-one a lot. I was never a one-on-one guy, so I couldn't. But so I kind of had to rely on ball movement. So the more the ball moved, the better that I always fit into offenses.
Awesome.
Now, did you ever think about coaching afterwards when you were done playing lacrosse, or what was the perspective?
Yeah, I coach a lot, actually. I even when I was still playing in Buffalo, I was coaching on my high school team. So I coached like 8 years at my old high school, and we won 5 straight provincial championships there. So I coached field right away as soon as I was still playing, actually. So that was one of the things I was always busy with, is lacrosse, because I was always whether I was playing for like the Six Nations Chiefs or at the time the Iroquois Nationals, Toronto Nationals, the Buffalo Bandits. So I was playing for like 4 different teams sometimes during the season.
Wow.
And
busy guy.
High school as well, and then trying to help with box teams. So I've always stayed busy in lacrosse, and I knew when I was still playing that I was going to be a coach eventually. So that's kind of what I've always done, is just stay involved in the game. And as I was still playing, I was always taking things from coaches that I liked, things I didn't like, so I had a lot of different coaches, and I was lucky enough to have a lot of really good coaches. So there's stuff I learned from Darius that I still coach to this day, that I still pass on to, young kids here in Six Nations. So I was busy coaching again all summer, helping out with like 3 different teams, and also now getting even into the management side, right, with our junior A team, the Six Nations Arrows. So I kind of got involved in the management side of that too. So it's fun. I mean, it's something I like to do. It's something I enjoy. I'm busy. I'm constantly gone some lacrosse rink somewhere, but I don't like being bored. I mean, I get bored if I'm not involved in it. So I've done that where I'm like, oh, I'm so busy, I'll take some time off. And I just got bored. I mean, I couldn't. It wasn't for me to just kind of sit around and not be involved in the sport. So it's something that I've always made sure I've always stayed busy with. And so coaching, the management stuff, I really like it. I enjoy it. It gets overwhelming sometimes, but that's just part of the game. And I kind of learned too that running teams and coaching teams is a little bit can be pretty tough. And the playing part was actually seemed like it was kind of easier to just show up and play rather than do the management stuff. So that's something that I'm learning now, and I'm just trying to get more involved with it and learning as we go. Right. So
yeah, absolutely.
And I really enjoy it.
And another thing too, if the opportunity knocked on the door, if say like a new team joins the National Lacrosse League or a coaching job would appear, would you take that offer in a heartbeat, or just say, I'll just stick with the high school and the college?
I don't know. That would be something that would be really interesting. I mean, I've kind of thought about it recently, which is pretty cool because now I'm getting into the junior A stuff, which is a little bit higher level. I'd been coaching more minor, like my kids, right? Just younger guys. But now that they're getting older, I'm starting to get more into the junior stuff.
Sure.
And I like it. So I think that would be something that maybe down the road is definitely a possibility, whether it be coaching or the management part. I've really kind of taken to the management part, which I do really like. So it's pretty cool. And, if that opportunity ever does come, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But if it does ever happen, it
love to have you
would be
a
really
part of that coaching crew. I mean, look at Micah Kersey and Johnny T. They got their teams. It would be nice to see another former Bandit run a show and just see how it goes.
Casey Koluski's got his own.
And Koluski too, yeah.
Exactly.
So
a lot of guys that I played against, right, are now involved in the management stuff. All the guys in San Diego, Josh Anderson, and all the Orangeville boys. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, eventually that's kind of the direction you go, right? After you get done playing, if you want to stay involved in the game, that's the way you go, is either coaching or management stuff. So maybe down the road someday that's something that maybe we can see someday, hopefully.
Did you ever expect to become an author either?
That was completely out of the blue. I did not expect that whatsoever. I didn't even know I was wondering if you guys even knew about that, but
yeah, we did see the book. So
I did not. Yeah. That's not something I really had planned. Kind of just came out of the blue, out of nowhere. It did take me a while to even kind of work up the nerve to do that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it was really, it's an intense book, so it's something that is really it was really close to me, and there's stuff that really came out that I kind of needed to get out.
Yeah.
When people read it, they understand that, some of the things I had going on inside me that a lot of people didn't know, that I didn't share with many people.
That's right.
I had a history of depression that I dealt with for, ever since I can remember. So that is something that kind of came out in the book that a lot of people, did not know. And the good thing about it is people have, been able to relate to it. They've mentioned that after they've read it, they've been able to relate to some of the things that are in the book and understood that, things like that happen in life, and even trying to deal with it as an athlete can be tough, because you're not expected to, that kind of stuff isn't things that most people talk about. You're just, expected to be worried about athletes, and we're worried about athletics, and worried about sports, and
absolutely
the things that it kind of weighed me down a little bit, even as an athlete. Maybe if I dealt with things like that a little bit earlier, my athletic career may have been even better. But that was just one of the things that they kind of came out of nowhere. Like you said, being an author, I totally did not expect that, but something I'm glad I did, and it was something that was really it was really therapeutic, is what it was. It was a therapeutic thing to do, and it just kind of poured out of me really unexpectedly, to be honest.
And you call it the medicine
right
game.
From the heart.
Yep, right from the heart. You call it the medicine game, and this goes by what Dane Smith said on the Dane and Josh show the other day, where he said, like, it almost ties together with the Every Child Matters movement that the NLL is incorporating right now.
I agree.
And it was like Dane Smith even said, like, no matter what's going on in my life, I'll just tuck it in the back of my mind and pick up my lacrosse stick and think about nothing else. Like, it truly is therapeutic for people that eat, sleep, and breathe lacrosse.
Yeah, and that's exactly what, that was kind of the whole point of the title of the book anyways, was medicine game, right? Because that's what it is. It just kind of is something where you can kind of escape, right?
Yep.
There's some things that are bothering you. Going to the rink is always like one of the best things you can do. For me, that's what it was, right? To be around my friend, whether it's the locker room, be around your friends, or even just being outside shooting around, like just shooting on a net by yourself can, and just, maybe thinking about things, but it can just be very therapeutic, whether it's playing catch with me now, it's like being with my kids playing catch, or just even with or going to the rink now. Like like I said, as a manager helping with our junior team, being around the coaches and being around guys that I trust and guys that I care about, it helps, right? So I definitely agree with what Dane's saying, with how it can just be it's good medicine for everybody. And it can be, like I said, very therapeutic just to be around people that you trust. And that locker room, people always say, right? It's a sacred place. And it is something that can be tough for athletes, ex-athletes, right? When they move on from the game, that they don't have that space, that locker room anymore to go to just be around people that they trust. And sometimes that can be a tough adjustment. But like I said, with me, with coaching and management stuff within the game, that's kind of where that kind of comes out with me, is and that space that I kind of still have and can be involved in the game.
Absolutely. And I
Well,
mean, did you
go
look
ahead,
at the
bud.
back? Did you see the background, Tony?
Yes, I
Do you
did.
notice? Do you notice the little theme going on here between guys like Billy D, who's right there, and Darius, who's right there, and Delby
It's the
over
mohawk.
there?
It's the haircut. It's the
Yeah,
haircut.
yeah. I mean, everybody seemed to have enjoyed the mohawk tradition, except for this dude with the afro back here in Stainhouse.
Stainer?
Who came up with that idea in 2008 to do the
I honestly
mohawk?
can't even remember who started that. I think Brandon Francis already had one and
Yep.
was already rocking it all the time. And then I think it might have been Billy or somebody just said, look, so I'll do it. And everybody just kind of did it. And they just did it right in the locker room, right for you guys, just fixed them up. So
Yep.
it was pretty cool.
I
And
mean,
the fact that we won that year made it even better, right? The year that we were all rocking the mohawk. So
I don't
Maybe
think a
that's what
lot
the
of people
Bandits
knew
need to
that
do.
I don't think a lot of people knew that you guys were rocking that until you won the championship and threw your helmets up in the air. And
yeah.
some teams have the playoff beards. You guys had the mohawks, and it worked.
yeah, it was actually pretty cool. So yeah, I'm glad we pulled her off that year, because it was kind of a long time coming with that team. I mean, to be honest, we probably should have won more with that group that we had. We
Yes.
lost in the finals a couple of times. Oh, the one year to Colorado. I mean, that's a game that I wish we could have back. And then even
Absolutely.
losing in the
2004 probably had to be a stinger too.
and then losing in the semis in Rochester in overtime was a tough one, and they went on to win too. So even though we did win the one, it would have been nice to have a 2-3 or so, but to get that one anyways is always something I'm going to cherish. So that
Definitely.
was cool.
So especially kind of like in bowling in a way, if you don't get your first 300, it's the same thing. You finally get it, you feel accomplished, and now you can say, "Hey, I've been on a championship team. I don't have to worry about really anything anymore." And you've proven enough after the last 5-6 seasons with the Bandits. Obviously, you showed that you had high intensity, you had the love for the game, you played the pick and roll, you've also scored when you needed to. And of course, you contributed to the 2008 championship season, and we couldn't thank you any more than that.
Absolutely.
Especially with how, like you said, with life going on with the medicine game, and how this could be your getaway from it all. And this is where you feel, and haven. And you know what? That's okay. But also, there's always people like, you have your friends, that you have your lacrosse buddies, and you go to them and you talk to them and you say, this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I feel like this is going to be my calm, my ease, and just let it all out. And then it'll be great to get back out there again.
Yeah, it was cool. And especially winning in Buffalo. I don't know if you guys know this, but my family's actually from Buffalo. Like my mom was born in Buffalo. So
Nice.
My uncles had me brainwashed as a kid to be like a Bills fan. So I've been a Bills fan my whole life, right? So
fantastic.
Just the fact to play in Buffalo and stuff, it was really cool. Like even as a kid, like I knew the area a little bit. My mom went to Grover Cleveland High School for a bit.
Oh, great!
So that's where. So that's kind of. It was cool to be, my uncles, my family, they all knew the city. They all loved that I played in Buffalo. So it was actually really cool to play there. And my first NLL game that I actually watched was the '92 championship when
JT.
Buffalo beat the Wings.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
And JT was still playing. JT was playing then.
That
right?
was the
I like,
behind the back 0-2.
yeah, he scored behind the back.
Yep.
He scored a backhander against Dallas LA to win the Mill championship at the time. And as a kid, like I said, like I want to play for the Bandits. I was 12 years old. I remember saying I want to play in this league. I want to play for the Buffalo Bandits and I want to win a world championship. And it all happened that exact same way. So it all worked itself out. I didn't tell anybody that I wanted, that was my goal, but in my mind, that's what it was, right? I wanted to play for the Bandits and I wanted to win a world championship, and it all worked out that way. So couldn't have been happier the way it worked out. So it was just a dream come true for me for that in that picture that you got right there.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, so back in 2003, were you kind of rooting for the Bandits to tank a little bit, because you probably knew you were going up there high in the draft, so you get that shot.
It was unexpected. I didn't really know what was going to happen with that. Yeah, I was told that I might go pretty high in the draft, and at the time Minnesota was coming into the league, right? So they were an expansion team. So people were telling me I'd probably be going to Minnesota. I guess I didn't really know what the whole story was with the draft yet. I was kind of I didn't really know the whole. Wasn't informed. We weren't as informed the way we are now with social media, right? We didn't have Instagram and all this other stuff on Twitter to find out what was going on. So I was just kind of in the dark about it, and then I found out that Buffalo made a trade to move up and get the first pick. So then they told me basically that I was going to be going there. So it was cool. I mean, it was really cool. And at the time, I didn't really know what to expect coming into the league. Again, being on a strike, it was really awkward, I guess, with all the strike stuff. And one of the toughest things I remember going into camp was because they were on strike, they were still trying to do all this collective bargaining stuff. The league might not go. What they didn't do is let us get any exhibition games. So we had no exhibition games whatsoever. So my very first experience in the league was actual real game, right? Which,
wow, that's tough.
Which I really wish I could have got like a couple, because everybody now gets 2 or 3 exhibition games before they get into the league, before they get into the real thing, right? So my first game, my first look into the National Lacrosse League was right at the time HSBC Arena, and it's packed rink, right? And so of course I was nervous, and my first game didn't go as well as I was hoping it was. I think I ended up with a few assists, but I didn't score that game. But then my next one I did all right. But
nice.
The first one was kind of an experience just to get it out of the way, to be honest, because like I said, we didn't have any exhibition games or anything like that. So it was kind of nervous, because again, I'm playing with a bunch of guys that I hadn't played with before, right? So I'm still trying to learn all the nuances of everybody. So, but it was a good experience, and I'm glad everything worked out that way, and that I played my entire career in Buffalo.
And of course, you have Chris Swenson, the great PA announcer at KeyBank Center now, who's an absolute beauty, and the fans that just pack the barn. It doesn't matter if they're winning every game or if they're losing every game. They're consistently getting 14, 15,000 people going to the games, and it's unbelievable atmosphere.
Yeah, and that's the best part, is it's just fun. It's like going to a rock concert, right?
Yep.
When you go to Buffalo. And when anybody asks me about the National Lacrosse League, I tell them to go watch a game in Buffalo, because sometimes you can go to certain arenas and it's not the same atmosphere. It's not as fun. Like, go to a game in Buffalo and check it out. And then that way, that's when they get hooked. So I don't know how many people have gone to their first game in Banditland, and then they've become, NLL fans instantly. So that's the best part is, Sweeney gets everybody going. And I think he's one of the biggest parts of the Bandits' success in the last, since they first started in '92, and having him around just keeps that crowd really, really into it, and makes it fun. It makes it a great atmosphere.
Yeah, you can't deny the fact that when you do go to a Buffalo Bandits first game, and then you're like, I have to come to more. Kind of like how Don Rickles would explain to you. But the fact, when you do go to your first one, like my first game was back since '96. And I unfortunately didn't go see the championship game, but I did get to see your championship game in 2008 because I became a season ticket holder since 2005. So I do know exactly how that mentality, the excitement, the electricity going through the air with Banditland. And my God, if nobody has gotten seasons yet and continue to buy seasons, they're out of their mind not to get seasons. This is an exciting crowd. Yes, we're rowdy, and yes, we do dress up. And of course, I'm sure that you guys probably all see
we've seen you on ESPN Plus
all the time. And I have that. You guys convinced me to become a big fan for the sport, and I can't think of a better team than Buffalo's team.
I mean, I went to my first game in 2007 against Rochester. Even the atmosphere, like, you know how you would get some of those Rochester fans that would come down, and we would just outnumber them by, like, they wouldn't even have 100 fans there. They would have just like the random 2 people wearing the teal and purple jersey, and we would just make them feel like you're the enemy in this building. I don't even remember how that game went or whatever. I just remember I was hooked ever since. We used to be a part of the Sabre Kids Club back in 2007. So we used to get the ticket. It was like 3 tickets to the last home game of each season. So we would go to like maybe the 3rd week of April, we'd go to every single one of those games. And then right around 2012, 2013, we started getting more consistent going to the games. We've been going to a lot of playoff games. There's nothing like Banditland. I mean, you want to go to your first game, set the bar high. That's the best place to go to, bar none.
I remember being at like, still being at the Odd, right? When they still played at the Odd. So I remember, I think it was 96, the home opener. And I remember being at the very absolute top with my back against like at the very top of the Odd.
Looking straight down.
It was just so intense and so loud in there that, you know, and everybody, like, as kids, we were just like, oh God, we all want to play here. Like, we, you know, just because of the atmosphere and because of the crowd. And I mean, that was one of the things that just.
Pat LaFontaine for the Sabres said that they constructed that building and the Sabres fans wanted to make the Sabres wanted to make the other team feel claustrophobic. Like when you're sitting up there in the 300 level, you're like looking straight down.
Like, I mean, and at the Odd going up the stairs, it's like climbing a ladder, right? You were like basically like you're going straight up at the Odd. So that's
like the first dip in any roller coaster. That's how you're looking like.
Yeah.
It is bad.
Now, Tony, we only have about maybe a couple minutes until Zoom throws us off. So I got to ask this question because we talked to Brad McCulley a couple weeks ago and said, why can't the Bandits go back to these uniforms? Like, I like what they're wearing nowadays.
Please mention it to them, guys. Delby, can you help us out with
this?
These
was the
jerseys?
last time we won a championship.
Jersey.
These jerseys were so good. I like the 90s threads. I like them a lot, but like this was my childhood that I grew up with. Yeah. These type of uniforms, especially.
And see, I'm the other way because my childhood was the throwback ones, right?
Yep.
When I first started watching, so I wanted to wear the throwback ones at first, and we had those ones. But I like both. I think they should have both, to be honest. Like,
I like the orange ones too. The orange ones with the white numbers on the back.
Like, have those ones, wear them all the time, and then wear the throwback ones once in a while. Like
the black jersey.
Yep. I think they get enough crowd. They got enough money. They could throw in an extra set of jerseys.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd be the first one in line to buy them.
Me too.
I would definitely. I would back you guys on that though. To have those jerseys, maybe then
we got his approval, Trevor. That's all we want.
Yeah. Now we just got to talk to Scotty Loeffler for now. So we're calling you out, Scotty.
We could be like his extra promoter. We can tell him exactly what he needs to like sell, and I'm guaranteeing you, more people will buy these things.
More jerseys, 100%. The more sales you make, right? Obviously,
absolutely,
it only helps. So I don't see a reason why not. Why not throw it back? Have the old ones that we had in the 2000s.
Yeah,
that would be
Pagula
fantastic.
Sports Entertainment. I hope you're listening, Pagula Sports Entertainment, because we'd all buy the orange jersey, the old black jersey, the old white jersey. I mean, even the St. Patty's jersey. But like those, there were so many good ones. But
I like our jerseys. Those ones, I like the black ones though. Remember, like our road ones.
Yeah,
that was probably my favorite.
The only problem is we don't have Reebok. I don't think they have the Reebok sponsorship anymore. They're rocking ProJoy right now or something.
Not cool.
That. Go back to Reebok. Maybe we can
Ad Pro now. That's what we're
Ad Pro. That's what it is. I
Pro.
forgot that was what it was. Yeah. But Delby, thank you so much for taking the time. It was a great conversation. I know Tony and I were looking forward to this one because you're our first Bandit alumni that have joined this show. So we thank you so much.
Yes, you are, sir.
Great, guys. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
No problem. Take care, guys.
You too.
Thanks.